I'm home right now, no work. I'm off because I have a hernia and I'm going to be having surgery. I work construction. I'm a union construction worker here in New York City. Uh, I'm a laborer, road builder, and it's strenuous work and I can't do it right now. So I'm kind of going out of my mind being home. This is my first full week home. And I'm kind of out of the routine. I'm kind of out of my rhythm of, my everyday routine. And I'm trying to develop a new one because a man without a routine and without a schedule, and you're just going to drift. You're just going to drift through life. You're going to get miserable and depressed. And that's one thing I learned in life from a younger age. You need to have something. You need to have a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose. And the first thing that ever gave me that sense of purpose in my life was at 15 years old when I got my first job as a bartender. I'm sorry, a busboy. I later became a bartender when I got older, but at 15 years old, I became a busboy. Before that, I was miserable. I don't want to say I was depressed, because I wasn't depressed. People use that, term depression, and I'm starting to realize that I wasn't depressed. I just needed something, and that something was a job. And my mother was the one that said, you're getting a job. You're getting a job. You're coming to work with me. And she did just that. I was 15 years old, and she was a waitress. She was a bus driver during the week. She drove kids to school. And then on the weekend, she was a server. She was a waitress for VIP yacht cruises in downtown Manhattan, right under the World Trade Center. I got my first job in the year 2000, so that was 25 years ago. And it was on Vesey Street at, what was that called? Oh man, I can't think of the name. It was on Vesey Street, North Cove Marina. So a little background into how I got this job, or how my mom had gotten this job. So I lived in a place called Red Hook, Brooklyn. It was right outside of the Battery Tunnel going into Manhattan. So I was a 5-minute drive away from downtown Manhattan, right through the Battery Tunnel, right there. Get there in 10 minutes. So my neighbor Ronnie Wayne, he used to drive the van for the commissary. So he would drive the food in, and I don't know how but one day I guess my mom was asking, or he asked her, you need a job, they're hiring waitresses. So she had gotten a job as a waitress the year before, 1999. Summer of 2000 is when she said, you're coming to work with me. There's some young guys on there working, and you fit right in. So she got me on there, and I learned how to work. I learned some responsibility, getting up and going to work at a young age. I was also going to school, so it gave me a sense of purpose, and all that in my head stuff was, it slowly went away, because I wasn't staying up late anymore, just thinking and unable to sleep because I was physically exhausted. I was drained, like from going to school and then work, and so I'm just rambling on about work, but it's a young man, I believe, needs to get a job. I understand this whole new wave of starting, entrepreneurs and YouTubers, and That's great and all, but I believe a young man needs to learn some responsibility in this world. He needs to learn the basics. And I think getting a job and starting a job is the perfect place to begin. I was home from work. I have a hernia, and it's taking me out of work, and I kind of don't know what to do with myself. So when you've been working all of your life, going on 25 years now. I started working, like I said, I started my first job as a busboy for VIP yacht cruises at North Cove Marina. And I tried after a couple of years to become a mate, and a mate on the yachts would work outside and tie the lines up. So I did that for a short period of time, and then I became a waiter. But then the real money on the yachts was behind the bar. So that's what I wanted to do. And it got to a point where I was 18, 19, and I'm watching the bar from afar, and I'm watching the money flow. And I'm like, man, I got to get behind that bar. I got to become a bartender. And that was all that was in my head, becoming a bartender. And what I would do was, I would constantly hang out at the bar. So I was kind of neglectful to my table, so I wasn't the best waiter. But I would hang out at the bar with the bartenders. Whenever one of them had to go to the bathroom, I'd cover for them. I'd jump behind there, and I just develop. If I had I knew how to be a busboy, so I knew how to direct the busboys, and I would, if the bar needed something, I get on it. I get on it before the busboys can even get on it. I was on top of it, and then eventually I got put behind the bar. I did a small party by myself when they needed somebody to fill in. And then I got my bartender's license one winter when it was slow and it was off. I think I did like a 2-week course and got my bartender's license. And I think by the time I was 20, I was bartending. 20, 21. I was bartending full time. And I loved it. It was great working on the yachts, So yeah, being home from work is just trying to figure out what I want to do with myself every day. Coming up with a new routine, a new new routine, because I'm used to getting up 5 o'clock in the morning, which I'll still do, but heading out for work, and when you get to work in construction, there's always something to do. You're always doing something. You always have a responsibility, and that little responsibility gives purpose to your life. And this past week and a half that I'm home, in the beginning it was nice to get a little rest, but then you start feeling useless. You start getting in your head, and I realized why from a young age I had to get a job. So let me see. Let me go into a little something here. I'll tell you a little bit about my work experience. I'm trying to fix the camera. Turn it this way a little bit. So I told you about working on the yachts for VIP. That was the summer of 2000. The summer of 2001, I worked there again as well. And then we all know what happened on September 11th, 2001. The towers came down right on top of the yachts. They were right outside. The boats were damaged, but they recovered. You know, we did some cleanup, and we had to relocate to Weehawken, New Jersey. Instead of going through the Battery Tunnel every day and being to work in 10 minutes, a bunch of us carpooled. And the Battery Tunnel was closed after 9/11, so we would have to go from Brooklyn through Staten Island into Jersey and to Weehawken. So a 10-minute trip became now an hour and a half trip. And we stayed in Weehawken, New Jersey until I believe we moved to South Street Seaport. I was working at South Street Seaport for a little while. And then I started to get this inkling to do something else with my life, that I wasn't going to be a bartender forever. I wasn't going to maintain my good looks forever, and I was going to have to do something professional, I guess. So I had a bunch of friends who were trying to become firefighters. And what they did first was they became EMTs. They became EMTs because it was the shortcut in to the fire department to become a fireman. And I said, not that I wanted to become a fireman. It was never in my plans. Matter of fact, I never really had plans. I didn't put much thought into what I wanted to do with my life, to be honest with you. It was I gotta work. And that's another thing. You should have a plan for what you want to do with your life. You want to think that through. You want to know what you want to do. And for me, I didn't have much of a plan. I was just winging it. Honestly, I was winging it. And I followed what they were doing. They became EMTs. It looked good. It sounded good. And I went to EMT school. I got certified to be an EMT, and I got a job out in East Orange, New Jersey, working 911 right off the bat. Because in New York, you have to apply to work for the fire department. You have to submit an application. It has to be reviewed. You have to go through this hiring process, psychological, physical exam. And there was a process behind it. So it took some time. It took a couple of years before they called me. And then about 2010, after working a couple of years out in East Orange, New Jersey, I got called for the fire department. Went through the whole process. They got called. You have to go through an academy. It's a 3-month academy at Fort Taunton in Queens. And I did that, and I became a fire department EMT. To be honest with you, I got into some trouble off duty, not on duty. Off duty, I got into some trouble with the law, and I was forced to resign after 2 years of working for the fire department. And at 27 years old, I was kind of lost. I didn't know what to do with myself. Do I go back to bartending on the boats? Do I pursue something new? And I was fortunate enough, after a couple of months of soaking in my own pity and being miserable and feeling like a fuck up, I was presented an opportunity to work construction. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So I'm 40 years old now. I got that job when I was 27. And working construction has taught me a lot about myself, taught me a lot about life. Um, you know, I wasn't handy at first. I didn't know how to fix anything. I wasn't a builder. I didn't know how to use saws and power tools. I was actually afraid of the power tools at first. Um, but you start off slow. You start off with a shovel and a pick, digging, shoveling, moving heavy stuff around. Um, there's a lot more to it, but you really develop your character working construction. And, for anybody who wants to start somewhere, work, I don't care if you don't know your ass from your elbow like I didn't know my ass from my elbow. Get in there. You're going to learn. They'll put you to work. You'll teach. There's pretty good guys. I've come across some. I mean, there's pricks, but there's some pretty good guys that are willing to teach you, and it's a good job. It's a good job, especially a union job. I'm rambling again, but so I live most of my life with one rule: keep moving, stay busy, stay useful. Like I told you, at 15, I was told by my mom, keep busy. She knew that if I was 15, 16, 17, 18, roaming the streets of Red Hook, Brooklyn, she knew that the streets, that they would sweep me away. She knew that there was only bad on the streets of Red Hook, Brooklyn, if you didn't have something to do, if you didn't have a sense of purpose. And her getting me that job saved me. And now I have a house. I have 4 beautiful kids. I'm married. I have cars. I'm not rich. I'm not rich by any means. I have to work to pay the bills, and the hardest part is, what do I tell my kids? Do I tell them what I just told you, to get a job, to work? Because we can all just follow the script. So with all that said, I'm home.